Hi, how's it going? Bob DeBoo here for Open Studio. Thanks for watching. Today we're going to talk about block chords. Okay? Now you might be saying, okay, block chords, pianists play that, right? It's a piano thing, right? Or even arranging type of thing, right? It totally is. And we're here on bass, but you could do what we're doing today on any melodic instrument, including the piano, just as single lines. But we're going to basically learn what block chords are, break them down from harmonic information into melodic information so that we can use them for solo type of lines or even compositional type of lines, also for walking lines to really understand how to get in and out of a major sound and also a minor sound. Okay, so let's check out just the sound of it a little bit here. So I'm going to think F minor, and specifically F minor 6, okay? And I'll break down what I'm doing in a minute. And C7 flat 9. Okay, so in that just little playing around with sound right there, I was thinking F minor 6 and also thinking C7 flat 9. So let's talk about how we get to that and ways to practice that, okay? So first up, what is a block chord? Block chord is a 4-note voicing on piano, and there are a bunch of different styles of this, okay? From Red Garland, Wynton Kelly, Bill Evans, Bobby Timmons, the list goes on and on. George Shearing specifically, there's a bunch of different, flavors of block chords. What we're gonna look at is a really basic block chord idea, 4-note closed. Okay, so it's 4 notes, and again, it's used in arranging as well to arrange 4 of anything, whether that's trumpets, saxophones, trombones, whatever. You can use this kind of concept. Easier to see on the piano too, so if you have any piano chops or are interested in that, I definitely encourage you to, if you don't already, sit down on the piano and try to play through these voicings, sing through them, hear them, put them in different keys, etc., etc. The block chord concept, it's usually used to harmonize a melody. The highest note in the block chord is usually a melody note, and the notes below them are there to lift that up and harmonize that melody. Before we talk about how to break down these block chords and build them and then break them down, let's talk about scales first, because everything's coming from that, really. So let's just start with what's the F major bebop scale. We're going to do everything in F today. F major bebop scale, aka the F 6th diminished. Let's just talk about what it is and get the sound in our ears and really shed it, okay? So we have F, G, A, B flat, C. Now here's the rub, is this flat 6, C sharp, or D flat. Technically it would be D flat, right, if we're thinking flat 6. Then D natural, E natural, and then F. Go up the next octave. So G, A, B flat. Here's our chromaticism, right, between the 5th and the 6th. That's where we're throwing that half step. Back down. Really quick, let's knock this out of the gate, okay? So you can do the minor or melodic minor bebop scale or minor 6 diminished, however you want to talk about that. Same idea, same scale, except for the 3rd note. Let's just lower that A down by a half step and play A flat instead. F, G, A flat, B flat, C, and this is all the same. D flat, D natural, E natural, and F. Next octave. Almost played A there, right? But we're thinking minor right now. Okay, so if we jump back into the major 6th diminished scale that we were just practicing a second ago, if we arpeggiate that, we'll end up building these block chords. And again, this is called 4-way closed. Very simplistic. There's a bunch of different ways to do this. This is just what we're practicing today. So if we take the F, now I want to think the F6 chord. So F, A, C, and D. You can do this different ways too. You could play this F major 7. You could also do, when we do minors, you could do minor 7th. There's a multitude of ways. So we've got F, A, C, D, and then that's that. The next note of the scale would be G, right? So anytime we're starting this concept, or starting this arpeggio from a non-chord tone, chord tones again in this case are 1, 3, 5, and 6, okay? So anytime we're not starting on F, A, C, or D, then it's going to be this sound. We're going to think diminished. So we're going to start on G, go up a minor third to B flat, up a minor third to D flat, up a minor third to E. Now that's an inharmonic kind of thing. If we're thinking, oh, okay, that's a minor third from D flat to E, that's not correct, right? It should be F flat. It's just about the sound, really. So getting that E natural in there, to my ear, really makes a lot of sense. Let me break this down for you too, really quick. This is how I think about this. Oftentimes people will say, okay, we're thinking about this minor or major 6 diminished type of sound. You've got the 6 chord, and then you've also got a 2 diminished sound, which it is. That's all diminished, right? I think about this more as a 5 chord with the flat 9. So in that sense, the 5 chord is C, right? It would be C7, also known as C, E, G, B flat, right? But I've already used that C in my F6 arpeggio. There it is. So I don't want to double that. So instead of thinking C, I want to replace the root of that C7 flat 9 with the flat 9 itself. So instead of thinking C, I'm going to think D flat and play that same arpeggio now. So I've got D flat, E, G, and B flat. Hear how it's now diminished? But I'm thinking about it as C7. By that logic, I could start from the 5th of C7, which is G. I could start from the 7th of C7, which is B flat. And I'm just arpeggiating that same C7 flat 9 without the root, without C in it, but with the D flat. So start from the flat 9 now, D flat, E, G, B flat, and then of course the 3rd. And it gets you that kind of shape, pivoting back and forth between the 1 chord and the 5 chord. 1 chord, 5 chord. 5 chord, flat 9 kind of sound. We've got F6, F, A, C, D, C7 flat 9 over G, or G diminished. I don't care, just however you get this concept in your mind. F6, but starting on A, so A, C, D, F. C7 flat 9 starting on B flat or B flat diminished. They're the same thing basically too, is kind of my point as well. F6 starting on C, so C, D, F, A. Now we've played C, now let's go to D flat. You could think D flat diminished, or you could think C7 flat 9 starting on D flat. F6 starting on D, that's a minor 7th arpeggio by the way. Then E diminished, or C7 flat 9 starting on E, right? And then you're back at F6 again. So put that all together, we get this. Right, it flows really well. Those five chords, the C7 flat 9s really lead into any of the inversions super well, and it's that diminished, that movement, that forward motion, right? So we have consonant, dissonant, consonant, dissonant, consonant, dissonant, etc. And you hear there, I was changing that around. So there's a bunch of different ways you could practice this, going up, down. So I just went from F to the G diminished, or the C7 flat 9 with the G on the bottom. Up F6, down C7, up F6, down C7 flat 9, etc. So you practice that, I think you're going to see your major scale, especially the F, in this key F major scale, in a different way, and think about them as these two different chords bouncing back and forth. Then you can practice improvising with it, right? So if I'm thinking F6, bouncing back and forth between F6 and C7 flat 9, I might come up with something like this. And you can add in some chromaticism too. Get some interesting lines, So shed that, it's very cool. Again, you can do the same thing with minor. So let's look at the F minor 6 diminished, or the F melodic minor bebop scale. Again, long names for basically the same scale, but you flat the third. So we have F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D flat, D natural, E, F. And the next octave, might as well just put up the next octave. Again, you can do this on any instrument. Information is the same. This is electric bass, guitar, tuba, it don't matter. One note at a time, we're breaking up these block chords and thinking about them in the same way. So let's do F minor 6, which is F, A flat, C, D natural. Okay, so now what's the 5 chord of F minor 6? It's still C7 flat 9, but we're going to start on G. So that's the 5th of C7 flat 9. B flat is the 7th of C7 flat 9. D flat is, of course, the flat 9 of C7 flat 9. These are long words, long sentences. E is the 3rd of C7 flat 9, and you can also think of that as diminished if you prefer. Then F6, but starting on A flat, right? C7 flat 9 starting on B flat. F minor 6 starting on C, which is, you can start to maybe see this as a D half diminished scale too, or chord that is. Start on D flat, so D flat diminished, or C7 flat 9 starting on the flat 9. F6 starting on D, and here is, that's that D half diminished arpeggio, right? D, F, A flat, C. Now start on E and think E diminished, or C7 flat 9, I don't care. And then F6 again, F minor 6, right? Take that through the instrument, take this in different keys, sit at the piano, figure out these voicings. It's really going to open up your sound on both of these type of concepts, right? You can kind of mix and match them, chromaticism in there as well. That's another video. Practice these. My brain. Wherever it is, whatever it's going. But you get that under your fingers, get that really in your ear, and you'll start to think about either your major scale or your minor scale as two different chords that you can just bounce around between. And again, we're really just arpeggiating both the major bebop or the major 6 diminished scale, as well as the melodic minor bebop or the minor 6 diminished scale. Go every other note, break them up, but think about them as two different chords, and you can have some fun. If you're into practicing stuff like this, consider checking out the Bass Access Pass here at Open Studio. We practice stuff just like this all the time. We meet weekly, and we're going to be ramping up more, doing more sessions live on Zoom where we can practice together. I can see you about to do one right now, actually. And you also get access to all the great bass courses at Open Studio, which is incredible courses by Christian McBride, Ruben Rogers, myself, rhythm section courses. It's a great wealth of resources for musicians to get better, which is what Open Studio is all about. So check that out. And again, my name is Bob DeBoo. Happy practicing. Take care.